Well, howdy there. Good morning now. It is I, your guardian. I'm here to talk to you today about whether or not UO Outlands is safe or is it a scam. And for those of you who know me, you know that I've been talking about this for a while. About how Outlands kind of gives me this corporation vibe, this corporate greed vibe. You know, they've got large towers at 8 or 9 million. I can't even remember now. They're typically like 350K or 400K, I think, for a large tower. But on Outlands, they were at 8 million at launch. I was there at launch for Outlands. Actually, I had some friends who did the beta. They did the beta testing, and they're always trying to be like, "Hey, come and do the beta testing." I was like, "No, not going to do any beta testing because I basically want it so that when I get there, you know, I don't have any exceptional knowledge of what's going on, right? I wanted it to be fair. I've got a lot of experience playing this game, and I just thought, you know, if there's problems when I get there, I don't want to have, any knowledge of that, any previous knowledge of that, or even the look that I might have had previous knowledge about bugs and then didn't report them, right? And so, I just figured there would be so many bugs, even for a tester who has tested this game so much like myself. I wasn't confident that we would catch all the bugs, in time for launch. And so I didn't participate in the beta. And, I was there at launch, though, and my personal Outland story, I guess that's what I'm telling right now. I grinded really hard for a house at launch. And I placed a house in Corpse Creek, right beside the Moon Gate. There's like a small house beside the Moon Gate, and then right underneath that house, there's a larger spot. And I placed in the larger spot and managed to place a house where that had a roof. It's just a small kind of towery house. It had a roof on it, and it's still there. I think still there to this day. This is the history of that house. Originally, the Moon Gate was guarded in Corpse Creek, which kind of made sense because it would kind of generate a little bit of a hot spot, right? Blues coming through the Moon Gate, reds waiting outside the gate. It only made sense, right? But then they removed the guard range, after launch, after everyone's grinded out their house and figured out exactly where they want it at launch. All the house plots are filling up. And so when you spend money on a house and place a house, you want to make sure that it's in a good spot at launch, right? And so I did. I worked really hard to get this Corpse Creek spot, and I thought it would be good for PvP, right? Because Corpse Creek is basically Outland's version of Buccaneer's Den, where everyone's gray, right? So I just thought, like, they changed the Moon Gate from guarded to not guarded, and then some people complained because there wasn't enough house spots in Corpse Creek. So Owen bulldozed all the mountains around there so that there could be more houses closer to Corpse Creek, to compete with my house on the market, right? Not necessarily specifically for that reason, but that's basically how it worked out. That house lost value, and then you know, I was on the roof and I was placing some footstools to make it easier. Footstools you can climb up them if they're locked down. You can gain a little bit of z-axis, and it kind of helps you get over the ledge uh, on the roof so that you can teleport down, right? Or you could cast blade spirits down there or something if you wanted to drop a fire field on some monsters down there or something like that, right? More or less, not really the fire field thing. I guess that doesn't really work very well with line of sight, but you get the idea. You can cast spells off the roof, right? This is typical. This is how Ultima Online works. There's really shouldn't be any problem with this, right? However, I believe Luthien must have seen me doing this teleporting down off the roof and setting up these footstools. And at some point, I tried to teleport off the roof and I wasn't able to. I did some testing and revealed that there were invisible walls all around the house, preventing me from casting spells off of the roof. Okay. At the time, I guess I probably didn't really understand the whole how it was all going, how it was all coming together. But they made some more changes to Corpse Creek, where they added some treasure chest thing. I guess it's called CCC. You know, uh, it's kind of funny the way that it all evolved. But at this point, they added CCC, and you know, I think it was part of that they were changing the whole map around and adding events now, right beside my house. So they didn't like the idea that I could cast spells off of the roof, and they decided to put invisible walls around the house. Well, you know, I gave the house to my body, and I was just like, I'm quitting because this is obviously a corporate money grab or something, right? 8 million gold, large towers, and I can't teleport off my roof. Like, it's too risky to be able to teleport off my roof. Yet they're saying this is an open world shard, Felucca rule set. Doesn't make any sense, right? And so, I gave my buddy the house, and then I was I was informed that Owen decided, to give my buddy a deal. Basically, he wanted to get rid of this house, and he was going to give my buddy a house beside the shrine in Corpse Creek, which it's like a little spot where there was already just one house spot, and that house was placed. So this person had like a private shrine house at launch. And, Owen's plan was to basically knock over some of the mountain beside that shrine so that he could place a big, huge house there for my body in return for dropping this house by this event that they created. You know, it just shows that he's not able to take onus. It was nice that, he decided to make some kind of deal or something, but really it's just like sometimes you gotta bite it, and it's take responsibility. And if you're saying it's open world, be true to your word, honor your word. Don't put invisible walls around somebody's house. It's ridiculous. Um, and then I found out that this money guild is, a bunch of PvPers, and they had been really well practiced at the time that Outlands came out, because there was on UO Forever, this money guild was going up against EQMS, which, had like 500 members or something. It was a large guild, right? And they just really, they just kind of absorbed the whole population of the shard and just gave everybody E-bolt scrolls, energy bolt scrolls, and just told them to run around with energy bolt loaded. Then they call out a target when they all flood on the screen, and that person basically has no chance to survive, right? Interesting tactics, but that's what Money Guild was up against. So they were fighting EQMS and having victories and stuff as well. So um, they were very well practiced compared to the Outlands group. The players that really just hadn't had a shard to play, the T2A players, just really, aside from, UOSA, which is still around and still in good shape, I guess, but, they just really hadn't been as well practiced. There just wasn't as much of a population and as much of a challenge, right? So this money guild was just mopping the floor with every guild and group on Outlands, and you could tell that Owen had some favorite players there that he was not happy that they were getting owned so hard by the money guild. So the GMs were trying to help with their GM abilities, which is not something you should be doing in an open world, especially. I mean, ever really. They were kicking money guild characters out of the dungeon, who they felt were AFK, or alts of other characters that they had backup characters hidden in the dungeon so they could get in there quick. They're using tactics like that. Well, that's allowed. That's acceptable, right? There was no rules against it, so why are you interfering when your job is rule enforcement and there's no rule about that? Maybe make a rule first and then start kicking players out of dungeon. But either way, right? He's kicking the money guild characters out of the dungeon and jailing them and banning members and threatening, to ban the entire guild if they just didn't outcast their guild master. That type of stuff, right? I mean, that's something that I've personally been affected by, is Owen's overreach trying to make it so that, threatening to ban whole guilds if they don't just kick one member and abuse one member for it, right? It's ridiculous. Owen is very childish, in my opinion. I've seen, chat logs where he's just very, very rude to people who are even slightly critical of his enforcement of the rules. And, he's a stain on Ultima Online, in my opinion, this Owen character. And Luthieus, Luthieus, who supports him 100%. Uh, it just feels like such a money grab to me. I just, at this point, I was defending the Money Guild and trying to say, Owen, right? Like these are Ultima fans, right? This Tony guy has been playing Ultima forever. I've seen him on every shard for the last 10 years plus, right? Since Hybrid at least. And Owen's like melting him off. It's like, geez, man. And so I basically I decided to help Bobby, the leader of the Money Guild at the time, Bobby123, with some information. I knew that pack horses, you could load gold on pack horses and kill them, and it wouldn't give you any additional gold. Would it? I can't remember. No, I don't think it did. No. So the way that it worked on Outlands is you could kill a pack horse with 80,000 gold on it because they can carry that much gold. And then basically what happens is when you kill it, these pack horses were labeled as reptilian monsters for some reason, and so you could get achievement points. You could go out in the wilderness and kill a pack horse, for example, and get 80,000 gold credits towards, you've earned now 80,000 gold in the wilderness. And sometimes there were, achievements and other types of rewards for doing things like this. You could go to the dungeon. You could go to certain dungeons each week. They'd have a list of this dungeon or that dungeon. If you earn 250,000 gold here, you'll get this many achievement points. And it was as easy as taking 5 pack horses there and a stack of 50k gold and just dropping it on each pack horse and killing it. I had a Reptilian Slayer Vank Warhammer that I was just killing them in one hit. I just earned 50,000 gold in this area and I could get achievement points that way, right? So it was kind of funny. I showed this to Bobby, and he had already reported achievement point collection bugs to Luthieus and Owen, and that didn't even matter. It didn't even help them, survive Owen's onslaught. Those guys helped in the Money Guild helped test the beta, right? And that's where this whole accusation comes from, that they knew better in the beta and they were abusing bugs or something. But there were just a couple of members who found some way to get achievement points. It's nothing like the pack horse thing, but they were still doing it. I think just creating alt accounts and getting the easiest points over and over to get, items that they could sell. And when Bobby found out about it, he actually reported his own guildmates, as a show of good faith to Owen and Luthieus. And even that didn't help. So at this point I showed Bobby that trick, and he didn't even care about gold or anything on that server anymore, because it was obviously a scam. It was obviously not worth playing from a competitive standpoint, because corporations don't like risk, right? And that's how they're acting. They're acting like a corporation, trying to make as much money as possible. They don't care about ethics, and anybody who presents a risk, they just eliminate that risk, even if it becomes false advertising, because it's no longer an open world, right? It's no longer Felucca rule set. If you're going to be kicking one side's characters out of the dungeon during a battle, right? It's not how Felucca works. It's not the role of a game master. And Owen and Luthieus know this. They just don't care. They're going to do whatever they want to make money, and that's how they operate. So obviously I learned this at a very early moment in time. I actually got my buddy to sell that house to Bobby instead of giving it to Owen for a house at the shrine there. I didn't want, some player that just had that little house place there, private shrine, to be upset, right? I don't want another player to get hurt. So I just made sure that my buddy gave that house to Bobby, and then Bobby put a symbol on the roof there. It's a money symbol. It probably is still there. It was there the last time I went and checked. went and checked out the shard and see how things were working out, and I seen it there. So the reason that that house with the money symbol is there is to remind Owen that he messed up. And I'm sure he hates that house. I'm sure that every time he sees it, he remembers the name Recognize, which was my name at the time, the handle I was using. He still remembers it to this day, which is funny. I just I knew Raid very early that this was not an open world, and it was just not worth playing from a competitive standpoint. And indeed, many of the competitive players don't play Outlands. EQMS, which became a huge guild with 10,000 members on Albion, could have just came and flooded the whole shard with players, but he's not going to do that because he's a skilled player and he knows that this corporate attitude that Owen and Luthien have doesn't mesh with skilled players, so it just doesn't work out. One sec, this laptop's gonna die here. I'm on the road right now, so I had to make this video. The Outlands expansion kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't sure that they're actually gonna do this. It's May right now, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to be expanding right now when everyone's pretty much offline for May long weekend. I think maybe what they're trying to do is show everyone, oh, there's so many people here, but are they real people or are they just bots, right? If they don't have any ethics, which they've proven time and time again that they don't. I mean, if they don't have any ethics, who's gonna want to play there? I don't know. I guess that's what I'm saying. Maybe they're trying to show people that, oh, it might be dead everywhere else this summer, but we look alive, right? We're expanding right now. They pretty much pushed this expansion off from May last year, I think. Then they said it was going to be in the final quarter. So they can't really push it off to the final quarter of this year. I think they're just pushing this expansion out right now to try and make some summer money for themselves, some cash for the summer for Owen and Luthien and their buddies, on Reddit and everywhere else, so they can control the narrative anytime a video like this comes out or somebody complains about something, right? It's just childish, it, even if they're not corporation and it's just Owen is just a literal child or something, which would make a lot of sense based on his behavior, his treatment of players. It's just so perverse. Like, on some people are allowed to just res kill all day and be jerks all day to everybody, and Owen doesn't care because he's also a jerk, in my opinion. But the worst is when Owen is just being so disrespectful to a player because that player is pointing out that this one player is res killing everybody. It's kind of against their griefing rules, which are very vague. Then all of a sudden, what happens in that case is this person sees that somebody's out there res killing, they report it. Owen doesn't do anything. He doesn't say, hey, stop res killing or being a douche to this person. When that's what he would do to other people, right? That person may go out and start to res kill as well. And, then at that point, Owen, it's almost like he on one point he can't take action because it would be hypocritical, but then he'll start to try and take action in other ways, try and fabricate reasons to if he sees your character AFK who's a miner, even if you're mining or not, he might just show up and kick you to jail, because you're not expecting to be asked if you're AFK by GM when you're not even mining or something, right? Like or they'll just ask 800 times a day, are you there? Are you there? Trying to get you in jail because they're trying. It's retribution, right? Owen reeks of retribution. He's done retributive actions, in my opinion, in the past against people who criticize him, right? So either way, I think the key to this whole thing is just to be aware that the shard is probably heavily botted. The view counts are probably fake. They seem to be allowing favorite players to do whatever they want. And, if people keep supporting that. Like, if be aware that it's a scam, basically. It is not a safe place to play. You know, there are people who are favorite players, and you're not one of them, probably. And be prepared for disappointment, because that's what's coming your way if you play on Outlands. Eventually, if you play competitively, you'll become very skilled, and if you're not a favorite, that's going to become a problem. It just will. You'll have invisible walls around your house or something. It is not what they say it is. It's not an open world. There's so much evidence that it's just not an open world. It's a false advertising scam, and you shouldn't support it with your money. You know, go ahead and play. Luthieus is a good coder. I like his gumps. But, you know, so find the fun where you can, but don't take it too seriously, and, you know, try not to play too competitively, because at the end of the day, you're going to hit a wall sooner than you'd ever expect, and it sucks when that happens. Anyways, right on. Very cool, y'all. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again soon with another video. All right, cheers, y'all.